ever thought about how really big changes, maybe even catastrophic ones, don't always just
Yeah.
happen? Like, boom.
Right. Sometimes it's more of a gradual thing, almost invisible at first.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're digging into today, this story about a being often called Lucifer. We're looking at the narrative, how someone associated with so much light ended up becoming known for, well, opposition.
And what's really fascinating is how these accounts try to capture that inner process. We're drawing from descriptions in certain religious texts.
Passages that give us these glimpses, right, of the initial glory and then these moments, these turning points that led somewhere completely different.
And just to be clear, our goal here isn't really to debate theology. It's more about understanding the story itself, the key parts of it, as it's laid out in these writings.
Okay, so let's start with the name itself, Lucifer. That sounds pretty significant.
It really is. If you look at the Latin, it means one who brings light.
Lightbringer. Wow.
Yeah. And the Hebrew connection is to the morning star. So across different ancient views, you get this consistent picture of brilliance, radiance, majesty.
So not just any figure.
Oh, definitely not. These accounts place him as a very high-ranking angel, often mentioned in the same breath as figures like Michael and Gabriel, right up there in the hierarchy.
So you have this being whose name means light in this incredibly honored position. But the story doesn't stay there.
No, it takes a sharp turn. The descriptions point to what's called a grave error, basically, challenging the divine order itself.
And there's that striking image, was it, from Jesus, about seeing Satan fall.
Yes, exactly. In Luke, I watched Satan fall from heaven like a flash of lightning. It's often understood as something happening before the Gospels, and it serves as this powerful warning against pride.
Pride. That seems to be the key word that keeps coming up.
It does, and the descriptions we get are just incredibly detailed, almost painting a picture for you.
Like in Ezekiel, chapter 28.
That's the one. Really vivid stuff. It talks about this being as the full measure of perfection.
Perfection?
Yeah, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty, even places him in Eden, the garden of God.
And adorned with, was it jewels?
Oh, yeah. An amazing array of precious stones. Ruby, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper,
Wow.
lapis lazuli, turquoise, emerald, and gold, all intricately set, like they were prepared right when he was created.
It's like he wasn't just powerful, but this incredible work of art. And his role wasn't just decorative, was it?
Not at all. He's called the anointed cherub who covers and protects.
Covers and protects. So a guardian role.
Seems like it. Positioned on the holy mountain of God, walking among stones of fire, which probably refers to the dazzling sort of heavenly environment. Sparkling jewels, maybe. Reinforcing that original brilliance.
And initially, blameless.
That's what it says. Blameless from the day he was created until.
That's the pivot, isn't it?
It really is. Until unrighteousness or this flaw was found in him.
So what exactly was this flaw, this unrighteousness? We mentioned pride.
Pride seems to be the absolute core of it, leading to rebellion. That grave error was challenging God.
And that image of falling like lightning is suggested was sudden, decisive.
Very much so. A quick, irreversible kind of descent. But it wasn't just a personal failing, was it? It involved others.
Right. The accounts describe him actively going among other angels.
Stirring things up.
Yeah, promoting rebellion, apparently seeking equality with God. And some angels were swayed, alienated from their original allegiance.
Leading to that division.
Exactly. And the consequence described is being cast out, expelled from God's presence, along with those who followed him.
So we keep circling back to pride. Why is pride presented as such a fundamental issue here? Like the original sin in this context?
Well, the narrative frames it that way. It comes before any outward act. Ezekiel puts it so bluntly. Your heart was proud and arrogant because of your beauty. You destroyed your wisdom for the sake of your splendor.
Beauty and splendor becoming the cause of ruin. That's powerful.
It really is. It's like the gifts themselves became the trap because of the attitude.
And you see this echoed maybe in other stories, even in human history, this tension between ambition and humility.
Absolutely. It feels like a timeless warning about how easily gifts, status, power, whatever, can be twisted by ego.
And Isaiah chapter 14 gives us more insight into that ambition, those famous I will statements.
Oh, right. Those are chilling.
Aren't they? I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God.
I will sit on the mount of the congregation. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds.
I will make myself like the Most High. 5 times. It's pure
The
self-exaltation.
desire isn't just to be great, it's to usurp the ultimate position. It's incredibly radical.
And it creates this stark contrast with another central figure in these narratives.
Jesus.
Exactly. Where Lucifer, a created being, is shown grasping for equality, the story presents Jesus, understood as divine, being exalted because of his humility.
So there's this principle being highlighted. Humility leads up, pride leads down.
Kind of like Proverbs says, before honor is humility. Or Luke, about taking the lower seat. Self-humbling as the path to real promotion, you could say.
But even after this fall, this expulsion, the story isn't over, is it? The opposition continues.
That's right. The rebellion doesn't just stop. The narrative talks about a rival kingdom being set up in direct opposition.
And Revelation mentions something about a tail, drawing stars.
Revelation 12, yeah. The tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven, often interpreted as the angels influenced by Lucifer's tail, that word again, suggesting slander or negative reports.
That idea of slander or tail-bearing keeps popping up.
It does. Remember Ezekiel mentioned abundant commerce linked to lawlessness. Some readings connect that not to trade, but to spreading gossip, slander, undermining trust among the angels.
So sowing discord was part of the strategy.
It seems so. Undermining authority established by God is presented as an ongoing tactic.
And driving it all is still pride.
Absolutely. It's depicted as this uniquely lethal flaw, the engine of the whole conflict. It's what finalizes that transformation from Lucifer, the light bringer, to Satan, the adversary.
It really drives home the point that even divine gifts, power, beauty, wisdom, can be misused terribly with the wrong attitude.
A deeply corrupted inner disposition, yeah.
Now, the narrative shifts slightly or adds another layer, talking about a specific hostility towards humanity. Why is that?
The reason given is humanity's unique status, created in God's image. Since God himself is presented as unreachable, the idea is that the opposition gets directed towards damaging or demeaning that reflection of God found in people.
Trying to spoil the image since you can't touch the original.
That's the concept. And there's also this interesting link made between ceasing to worship God and then seeking worship for oneself.
Like an inversion.
Yeah.
If you won't give worship, you start demanding it.
That's the implication, yes. Lucifer's story is presented as the prime example. Refusing to worship leads downward.
Which brings us to the importance these texts place on the opposite. Praise and humility. It's not just a nice idea, is it?
No, it's framed as absolutely essential, vital for staying connected to the divine source. Like, a fish needs water, a body needs oxygen. Worship and praise are presented as that kind of necessity for spiritual life.
And you see commands to praise throughout these writings.
Definitely. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord. It's fundamental. The whole point of divine actions like justification, redemption, deliverance, it's tied back to enabling humanity to glorify and love God.
So the higher you rise, the more blessings you receive, the more the glory should flow upward.
Exactly, not inward towards yourself. There's a strong warning against getting arrogant when you're blessed or talented.
True fulfillment comes from humility, from acknowledging something greater.
That's the message, not from self-aggrandizement, which is shown to be the path to ruin in this particular narrative.
Okay, so stepping back from this deep dive into Lucifer's story, what are the main takeaways?
Well, I think fundamentally it serves as this really potent cautionary tale, doesn't it? About how insidious pride can be, how unchecked ambition can corrupt even the greatest potential.
It traces that path from glory, from being blameless, to becoming this figure of opposition, all driven by an inner attitude shift.
A really tragic trajectory, fueled by wanting to exalt the self above all else.
And as we aim to do, we've really tried to just explore the narrative as it's given in these accounts, focusing on the story's progression, the themes, without getting lost in theological debate.
Exactly, just unpacking the elements presented, understanding the messages about ambition versus humility, and the power of our inner disposition.
So for you listening, maybe something to think about is, how might pride, even subtly, show up in our own lives, in our attitudes, our ambitions?
And perhaps, how could cultivating genuine humility offer a different path? A path that maybe safeguards against that kind of fall we've been discussing.
It's certainly a powerful story with themes that still resonate, prompting reflection on potential